You're listening to Alternative Rhythm Radio with your hosts, Connor Dyer.
Do you really believe your own hype that much?
I am the hype!
Sean Reyes.
Summon up your demons! Hit me! Fight me! Give me a hug!
Kevin Vargas.
Sweet Mother Teresa on the hood of a Mercedes-Benz! You sound like a majestic fucking eagle!
Zach Imperial.
Kid, no language on Earth has a word for how little I care. A quantum supercomputer calculating for 1,000 years could not even approach the number of fucks I do not give.
This is Alternative Rhythm Radio.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Alternative Rhythm Radio, episode number 1, everybody. I'd like to start by introducing my wonderful team here. I have 3 of my best friends in the world. Sean, say hello.
Hello, this is Sean Reyes.
Kevin Vargas.
Hi.
And Zach Imperial.
Hello.
And we'd like to welcome you all, if this is the first time you're seeing this or downloaded it via the podcast or watching it on YouTube. We are live here on twitch.tv/Alternative Rhythm Radio every month, third Saturday of every month, to provide to you a music discussion podcast, a platform in which you can join us here and discuss the things that we love as enthusiasts, as musicians, as audiophiles, everything, right? You can contact us throughout the show via our phone number. I have to turn to see this. 818-574-8673, or contact us via our email at alternativerhythmradio@gmail.com, where we can have this open conversation. Now, first, I'd like to kick it off by really diving into us as introducing ourselves, and I think the best way to do that that really defines us as people is to talk about what this last month we've listened to that we loved. Sean?
So does just anything in general, or does it have to be
that
like
you've
that
enjoyed
released this year?
No, that you've enjoyed this month. We're giving people the character of who we are based off of what we listen to. I think music defines us a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. I would say right now I was listening to a lot of Snarky Puppy. Their new album, I think it's called Immigrants. It was released 2019. I think I forget. I don't know if it's like their 6th album or something.
Snarky Puppy's the
jazz
band.
like modern
jazz instrumental
band. They're pretty big in that scene right now, and yeah, I really enjoyed that album. So that's what I've been listening to the last month or so.
All right, and Kevin, what have you been listening to?
I've been listening to this album by this. I don't know what I would call them. I guess they'd be like alternative pop, power rock. I don't know.
Who?
No, that's the genre that they're in. But their name's Charlie Bliss, and it's Charlie with a Y, not I-E.
Okay, all right.
And they're an interesting band. I was listening to their album called Guppy. Is it Guppy? Yeah, it is Guppy.
Are they an older or a newer
No,
band?
they're newer. They're some. I think they're about my age, and they put this album out last year, 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's pretty good. I like it.
Interesting.
Superficial power space rock.
Yeah, I know they're like because
Exactly.
they're like rock, but not in any sort of hard way, in like the poppiest way you could be rock.
It's weird. You talk to some people and they'll be like, you know, some people have heard of Snarky Puppy and other people will be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
People that are like surfing YouTube all the time, they'll know exactly who Snarky Puppy is. You tell them, oh yeah, I listened to Charlie Bliss, and they're like, literally 90% will probably be like, who the hell is that?
I think they're pretty big in the indie music scene, I guess.
I mean, I've heard about them because I went to school.
Charlie Bliss or
no, Snarky Puppy.
Definitely
I'm going back to
I was gonna say.
What are the odds?
I'm going back to Snarky Puppy for a second because they always used to talk about them in all the jazz classes. Always.
Oh, really?
Always. Oh, yeah. Everybody talks about.
See,
Snarky Puppy.
when I was going, which is close to the same time Connor was going to the community college for music as well, I didn't really hear too many people drop that name. Really, I mean. I heard like the what's that one band, the XXX or the X?
I'm not even certain what you're talking about.
John Coltrane.
Nah, I would hear like
Jocko?
XXX. I think it's called XXX. I would hear their name get dropped a lot, man. I don't know, more like singer-songwriter kind of artists and whatnot. So that's pretty interesting. You heard that they would, or people would be already, or were talking about Snarky Puppy, what, like 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah, it just came up. I think they were on the rise, right? When that happened.
Sort of, yeah.
At that time, they were definitely on the rise because I just watched a video, like, I say just, but it was actually like 2 months ago with them on, they were doing a session, a rehearsed and recorded session for like Vic Firth or something like that to showcase the drummer.
Okay.
And that was the first time that I ever listened to anything by them. And just listening to them off the bat, I was like, oh, I get it. So they're kind of following that, like, the same kind of trend as that band Dirty Loops, except Dirty Loops has like
they do more covers.
Dirty Loops does more covers,
and they do like jazz covers.
But like talking about that extreme, you know, kind of modern modern jazz harmony kind of thing. And my point being, because I love Dirty Loops, Snarky Puppy's pretty sick.
Speaking of their drummer, is that the same drummer they've had this entire time? For like since that one video? Because
no, but like for Dirty Loops?
No, for Snarky Puppy.
Oh, I have no clue.
Because I think when because I watched them live January 2018 at the Wiltern, and I remember their bass player, who's the band leader, Michael Lee, announced their he gave like a like, you know, when he was introducing the band, I think he mentioned that drummer was like a three-time nominated Grammy drummer for whatever album he worked on, either previous year or that, or going on to that year. But I was just like, man, that's crazy, like, because that drummer was really, really good. And I think they even had like a side percussion guy too that night as well.
Well, let me ask you this: is Snarky Puppy, because I'm not very educated on them, but are they like supposed to be originally a 3-piece?
So the interesting thing about that band, at least at this level in their game, is that that they started out as like a jazz group that the bass player, or like he brought all these people together and they would just kind of jam off to the side while they were going through their school or whatever. And so it's always been a big band, basically, of like 5-8 plus people. Mm-hmm. But now in this level of their careers, it was interesting because I heard Michael Lee at one point mention like, oh, depending on where we're touring, half of our crew will sometimes leave to do other session work,
right?
And he would hire other people to do, like, you know, like I said, the tour in Japan or whatever. So he would hire like a different guitar player, which is I experienced that when I watched them at the Wiltern in January of last year. They had a completely different guitar player for that West Coast show than their original, because they've had the same guitar player the entire time, but for whatever reason that guy was doing something else during that period, and I think he stayed on the East Coast, which is the guy that kind of rubbed you off in the wrong way when you saw him in that Rig Rundown.
What did
he mentioned that all their shows are a little bit different and they're not all the same.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and I remember, I guess that comment bugged you, Kevin, because you're like, well, I mean, yeah, like, you know, there'll be different variations of the songs, but, you know, I guess your argument was like, you know, it'll essentially kind of be the same, you know, set.
Oh, it bothered me that he said
that. He said that, yeah.
I
but
can see why.
But that guitar, I didn't actually see him play with them, so I thought that was pretty interesting that they're always switching out musicians. Like, I mean, that's like on another professional level of like studio session.
Right. I mean, you know, you talk about the solo artists of yesteryear. Right away, just because I've been listening to him a lot, the one that comes to mind is Sting, and you know, he's featured scores even of wonderful artists on his studio recordings and his tours. So, the fact that you're saying that Snarky Puppy probably swaps out people every now and again is no surprise to me, especially when they're doing like really high tier music in that kind of category.
Yeah.
So Zach, what have you been listening to?
Yeah, that's what we.
So you
get
did
back
mention
to that.
Because I love jazz groups as much as the next person.
Yeah,
But
I've been listening to a lot of different things. Just kind of, I was a huge advocate for CDs the last like decade or whatever. But recently, I've really gotten into Spotify and just like catching up with artists that I haven't gotten a chance to buy their album or anything like that.
anyone in particular?
Well, the one that immediately comes to mind is Order and Decline by Sum 41. I listened to it in full. Like
I also listened to that this month.
I listened to it in
that
full.
your pick?
And
That was not my pick.
Okay.
But
wouldn't that have been a shock?
it was in the list
Yeah.
of things I've listened to this month.
Yeah, so I was like, I recently caught an interview that they brought their old guitarist back in, which some 41 fanboys are like
Love that guy.
That's why I had to listen to it.
That guy is a beast.
I remember I asked Kevin, I said, when you saw him as a kid, because Kevin's an amazing guitar player, we know that, and I said, when you saw him as a kid, was it like, oh wow, a brown guy who can play guitar too, I can do that.
And he
now.
was shredding, yeah.
And I think you said like,
No, I really did feel that way.
you felt that way.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of because I was just interested. I was like, there's a plethora of white artists for me to look at and be like, yeah, totally. And I think it's kind of, I just was curious if it even hit because I can't understand that.
Especially as just like because he doesn't sing, he's just like a pure guitar player, and
He screams, and he's amazing. He's an amazing guitar
he
player.
shreds so hard. Anyway, so that's what you've been listening to.
Well, my thing about the whole Sum 41 thing is that, and I told you this, that I got into them when Chuck came out, and I listened to that album to death. I'm sure so many other people have. Then I went back and listened to Infected.
It does look Infected, yeah.
And I was like, my God, I love this band. And then a friend lent me Underclass Hero, and I was like, what is this garbage?
It was not good.
So was that after Chuck?
Yeah.
Underclass Hero was after Chuck.
Because that's when
Brown Man left, and then
that was like 2012 or something. It was
something
around
like
time.
that. I don't remember.
Okay.
Way past the like that kind of type of punk being anywhere near popular.
Underclass Hero came out. I listened to it to death, and I was like, man, I can only get behind like one or two songs on here, and I know they're trying to do like this is the album thing, and it kind of felt like a watered down version of American Idiot to me.
And I was just gonna ask, so was that the more political driven album?
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to say that because if you think about things like Chuck, that was pretty politically driven at points too. It's
Right.
just it was better targeted. I think that's the thing with songwriting is that it has targets.
Yeah, but my point was that after listening to Underclass Hero so many times, I kind of fell off the Sum 41 bus, and they came out with Screaming Bloody Murder.
Yes. Yeah. I also listened to that this month too.
I have not listened to that yet, and I guess they came out with another album that I completely went under the radar for me. And then I just decided to listen to Order and Decline, and I was like, holy wow. This album is pretty much exactly what I wanted Sum 41 to always be.
I was okay with it.
So did that album come out this year?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, there's been a few videos saying that it's probably one of the best rock albums of the year, the decade, something like that.
2019's been a rough year.
It kind of has.
It has.
You ask some other people, they'll say these two things.
We aren't getting into that yet.
These two things. That's why I'm saying these two things.
What we're gonna discuss later on that we're all just boiling, to.
But I'm talking about on the rock front. There's two things in particular that happened this year that people are like, holy shit, rock's on the rise.
Okay, I guess my turn.
Yeah.
To talk about the
album. Actually, do you get a chance to speak? Or
talk about things I like.
Yeah,
I think we can veto him. As
maybe. I mean, this is a democratic.
What have you been listening to?
This week in particular, I have been listening to Beck's Mutations, and I've been loving the heck out of it. I went on a Beck journey recently, and I get it now why people love Beck. If you put on a good pair of headphones and you listen to Beck, it's an exciting experience that I didn't know I could feel for, well, Beck, because my history with Beck has been like what's been played on the radio, and
right.
It wasn't that impressive. But you put on a Beck album and you go, oh wow, okay, all right, this guy's interesting. He reminded me of like kind of like Ben Folds, which is also something I listened to because I was inspired to listen to Ben Folds because of Beck.
I am familiar with Ben Folds.
I love me some Ben Folds. He's an amazing songwriter, like an outstanding songwriter. What else have I been listening to? Been listening to Aki Akane more because I love Aki Akane, and I have an album coming that I just purchased of the last part of my collection that was $110 that I found.
That's
used.
what you told me about.
Yeah, I was very excited about that.
Wait, you spent $110?
No, it's for sale for $110.
That's the market
I
value,
found
so.
a used copy for like $13 on a random website, and I bought it.
That's a
good for you. Good find.
It was an exciting day for me.
I bet.
What else? Raconteurs. I listened to their new album.
They had a new album come out?
Raconteurs.
Raconteurs.
yeah.
Raconteurs.
Okay. Yeah, the Jack White.
Jack
band.
White 2.
Oh, I remember you were talking about that, yeah.
And I really liked that a lot. I was really surprised by it. Future to the Left. Been listening to a lot of Future to the Left and a lot of McLusky, and that was a great experience.
What albums from Future of the Left were you listening to?
The one that's black with the...
Travels with Myself and Another.
Thank you.
Because the most recent one, which has been a while.
Is that the one with like it's like the gray photo and it looks like it has like people on it?
I think so.
It's kind of looks like a war photo, I think.
Yeah, that album just I was curious to see if you have listened to that.
I have that one. It's not very good.
It sounded like he lost a lot of drive and whatever he was doing.
I wasn't as much a fan. It's funny because I had an AJJ day yesterday, Andrew Jackson Jihad day, where I just listened to their entire discography for 8 hours. And what I realized was I remember when Bible 2 came out, and I was talking to Kevin, I was like, I just don't like it as much. It's just not as good as Knife Man or, People Who Can Eat People. And then something happened after listening to it like 3 times, and I was like, Bible 2 is my favorite album by AJJ. It just like took me over time. I love it. And similarly, I think that might be the case with that Future of the Left album. Is that if I listen to it more, I bet it might grow
which one?
into
Travels
some
with
love.
Myself and Another?
No, the other. The new one.
The one with the war photo on it?
No, I was talking about the one with the planet exploding or whatever.
What's that one called? I know which one you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I've been listening to, and I hope that helps to define... Well, it doesn't really define me. I like punk rock, and I haven't been listening to punk rock because punk rock's...
Punk rock disappointing
has been
disappointing.
I was gonna say off the top that I don't really think music defines who we are specifically.
No,
as
but
people.
For this podcast,
I'd be tempted to agree with that statement.
For this
Kevin's
podcast.
statement.
I also was really just trying to work in the bit that we will likely have this conversation each week on the first episode.
Sure,
that's really the point of it. I was trying to tie it in. Thank you for calling me out.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Can I say that Charlie Bliss was recently on Amoeba's What's in My Bag video?
Who's?
And,
Charlie
Bliss, the band that I was talking about?
No, but like who
was in their bag?
Yeah.
They had a lot of pop music and some other stuff that I was like, man, I don't understand how you make the music you do when you listen to this stuff.
See, I think I'm curious now that you mention it because when people like start listening or when those bands go on What's in My Bag and they're like naming these other artists that kind of throw you off, like. Do you like? So is it that much surprising that they like stuff that you don't like, or
it's not that I don't like that stuff because they had Elliott Smith on there and I like Elliott Smith, but Elliott Smith is really sad and Elliott Smith isn't. Their music is like high energy poppy rock with really distorted guitars and their singer is a girl whose voice is really fucking high. Like it sounds like they've tuned her up to be a chipmunk high, and they put like a little distortion on it, and I think it sounds really good. But like that sounds nothing like Elliott Smith or. There was this other band that they were talking about. But anyways, yeah, it's the stuff like that, which, makes more sense when I think about it. Because if people asked us as a band, what do we listen to? Like we're doing right now, that is not represented in our music. There's no Snarky Puppy in any of our songs.
By the way, in case it's not obvious, we're a band.
Yeah, that's true. We are.
Yeah. There's no Ben Folds in us at all.
I just wanted to finish with that. Note that like after a certain period of my life, I was just like, well, artists are just gonna listen to whatever it's gonna inspire them. Because I think of one of the best examples I ever like or read about, or just musicians being influenced by all sorts of different stuff is like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. A lot of them came from like a punk rock background. I mean, Flea was in I don't know if he was in Cox Bar or
he was not in Cox Bar.
He was in one of the LA punk bands that was really popular.
He's pretty featured in like a lot of different people's music. Even now they catch him in a spot, whether it's playing bass or playing trumpet,
But I remember like they came out of the punk scene and it's like, again, when I realized that and learned more about the history, I was like, that's crazy. How? Because I didn't.
Any of these bands? I mean, since he was a little associated with Fear in some way.
Fear, yeah, there we go. See, he was in Fear back in the day.
I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong.
Is Cox Bar from the East Coast?
I think they're from the UK.
Oh, are they really? Okay, but
the
yeah,
eastest of coast.
Just to finish on that note, I was like, oh, that's crazy that they came from this kind of a scene and made like a weird funk. I mean, their earlier stuff has more punk influence, but if you hit like Blood Sugar Sex Magic and everything after that, it's hard to hear those
like a whole different band.
Yeah, and especially when they reinvented themselves for the third time with By the Way.
Maybe when I'm as old as you are, Sean, I will feel that way too.
I mean, you got like 299 years ahead of you.
I got a way to go.
So,
touching on that thought just a little bit. Back in my all I would do is watch YouTube days. I watched a making of the album. It was I don't remember the album, but it was a Dream Theater, and they Portnoy went in the studio and he was looking at the console and they were setting up stuff for guitar tones and everything, and Petrucci laid out like a bunch of albums there that you immediately got the intention that they're drawing inspiration from this, whatever way that seemed.
Okay.
And he had stuff on there that was like modern metal, and then Battle for Los Angeles was on there too, and there was like another album. It was a poppy album. I don't remember what it was, but Portnoy was like, "Man, I don't know what the hell was going on in here. It's kind of weird." Mm-hmm. Petrucci is like trying to draw inspiration, man. So I guess it just goes to show you can grab inspiration from literally anywhere for anything.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's true. I think and this is great because we can talk about why we listen to music, which is like topic number 2, right? And I think for myself, like one of the ways I can define that is like if for those who know me know that I have a playlist on my SoundCloud of about 28 hours of whatever music I found that I think stands out as something that inspires me. There's like one part in a song that I really like. I put it on that playlist, and it's all Japanese music.
So are you saying that you listen to music for inspiration? Is that your primary reason?
Not exclusively. What I mean to say is what you can find from different things that you wouldn't expect to find. I find myself gravitating to songs based on the excitement they generate inside me from listening to them.
I get that you can take that from music, but one of the reasons I put this on here, because I really want to know, like, from all you guys, what do you actually listen to it for? Like, what's the primary reason?
So I've got a little bit of a thing recently that happened as I've been exploring more with audiophile technology. I've been getting amps and DACs and stuff and new headphones, and what I've noticed is once I got that stuff, all the stuff I used to listen to got way more exciting because now I can hear what's going on another level. I can hear where things were placed in the mix more, and the definition of things, and little pieces that were left in that maybe got missed. And what I found was when I put on a song that I really like, and something that, like, from a composer like Jeff Williams or something like that, and I hear something really impressive, I could feel it in my chest start to, like, get excited in a way that was like, I don't know if I could actually do that. And, and it became an exciting portion. That's what I've been really listening to music for lately, as much as I have, is that it's like a little adrenaline rush.
So you've been listening to it for that feeling? You'd say that was your primary reason for listening to music?
Recently, yes.
Recently?
Prior to that, I just like the music in my head.
You just like hearing it?
It's always been around in my head. Even when you take off the headphones and you're working through your day, like, personally, I have like a background track in my head Like it's like a running noise or a theme or something like that that's just in there. It's not even something I pay attention to. And when I start thinking about it, and it gets quiet in my head, I'm like, that's weird. Like it's like it's ingrained in us, or at least in me, because I've been watching media my whole life, and those always had soundtracks accompanied with it. So my life has some kind of soundtrack.
Yeah, and you like soundtracks, as you know,
a lot.
Yeah.
What about you, Sean? Why do you listen to music? Like, when you put on a song, what are you doing that for? Is it just to like fill up time? Is it just to listen to it, or?
Mine, I guess I try to kind of have like a simple idea behind why I listen to music. I guess it's 3 small points. One, it just brings me joy, in whatever different way. Whether it's nostalgic from, remembering a certain song when I was a kid, or a certain song that's tied in with a certain memory. So that's one of the reasons. It just brings me joy. The second reason I listen to music is just sometimes it makes me think about what's going on in my life with whatever like lyrical content I'm absorbing from that music. So it could just, not to sound like a nerd or
you have lyrics tattooed on your body.
No, I don't have the lyrics. That's a philosophical quote.
I thought it was from an album. Oh, you have that band's album on your shoulder.
Yeah, I do have a band album tattooed on my shoulder. But the second point, like I said, it just makes me think about different things in life, or the music itself makes me maybe think of a certain topic I didn't really, elaborate or really go into depth of what makes that topic interesting to this band that they wanted to write about and perform for people. And so those, I guess those are the 2 main reasons. And the third reason kind of just ties into my musical background, where I just like the concept of breaking down music, whether you know it by theory or just, because I always say, like, everyone to a certain extent knows music theory, whether you've been taught it by paper, or you know how to play an instrument, or you're just an adamant music lover. You could tell when certain things are supposed to, when a melody rises, or especially when we're gonna discuss our third part of our podcast in that topic.
Or 2 weeks from now, if you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah, the popular music has certain trends that anyone or the common person can follow, and so just breaking down music is the third reason. Just like analyzing it is one of the the last reason why I listen to music.
Before we get to Zach, I actually want to remind everybody that they can call us here and be a part of this conversation and share this same experience with us by contacting us at 818-574-8673. I haven't memorized it yet. I literally just bought this number.
We should give you a little card.
Yeah, and it's really important to us. The point of this whole experience is that it's an experience of a running conversation, a dialogue between us and the community that just doesn't really, I feel like, exist right now. And we want to give an opportunity for those who listen to music that might not be the norm, or even is the norm, to communicate with other people who love music, like truly love it. So going on to Zach, why do you listen to music, Zach?
There's a couple different reasons. For the most part, lately, because I'm a pretty active musician right now, it's for understanding, comprehension, and to educate myself. If I'm playing like covers, or even if I'm playing like our original stuff, and like I was talking to Kevin about this yesterday, sometimes I don't have the luxury of being a part of the songwriting process right then and there.
Right.
So I'll tell people, just make a recording, send it to me, and I'll listen to it like a few times, and then, Yeah,
because as a drummer, it's a little more awkward. Well, in our band, it's a little more awkward for you to always be there, because it's not always possible for you to be loud. So a lot of the times, Kevin, Sean, and myself might get together and talk about strings things and write without you, but then you have to like digest that after the fact off of a recording that was made with a cell phone.
Yeah, and then I usually have to like, you know, put holes in walls and stuff like that because the world's my drum set.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But like as far as other commercial music goes, you know, I listen to a lot of progressive rock, a lot of jazz fusion kind of stuff because I'm a drummer and I like to kind of eat up the complex kind of patterns that these drummers are doing and think, can I do that? I can't do that. I can totally do that. So that kind of thing. And then, you know, just kind of like educating myself with such high complexity music. And also like, you know, I'm sure we're going to get into the whole Rick Beato thing of like really tearing apart a song and understanding where they come from and, you know, the chord choices and, you know, just understanding like music theory kind of stuff.
For those who don't know, Rick Beato is a YouTuber who does music theory videos as well as other things. Yes, recording videos, right? And I don't watch him, but for those who don't know, he you can see him. He's very popular.
Yeah, he's become very popular in the last 2 years or so. So if you like just music in general as well, he doesn't just appeal to the musician or whatever. I think his content appeals to anyone who's interested in music.
That makes a great point that I really want to know. I've actually been thinking about this a lot with this segment in particular. This is how we listen to music as people who play music and do music to some degree. And I mean, I know making music has changed the way I looked at music before I was a musician, because I didn't start making music until I was 20. You know, I wrote some lyrics and such when I was a teenager, but it never became anything. But I don't remember being this intimate with music before being a musician. So my curiosity is, there's people who really love music that have no aspiration to make it in any way. And I'm trying to think back, and maybe you guys can help shed light as to what that feeling was before I started doing this like this.
Well, Kevin, do you want to end on why you listen to music real quick?
Yeah, sure.
You're here.
One of the big things about music is it's like it's almost like a self manipulation thing where I can listen to music to feel whatever emotion that I feel like feeling in that moment. You know, if I'm gonna go skate or something, I'll put on some music that'll excite me. And even if it's not like really fast music, or if it's not, you know, music that's most people would find exciting, sometimes if it just has that sort of feeling for me, I can listen to it and it'll make me feel that way. Or, you know, if I want to listen to, even if I want to listen to something sad, it won't necessarily make me sad, but listening to those feelings and then feeling the way that it sounds like with me was definitely one of the big reasons that I listen to music, is just for that, like, I don't know, not to get too flowery here, but that emotional like connection to the sounds of it and what that sound makes me feel, regardless of whether that was the intention or not. Like I said, with some sad music, it still just gives me it makes me like happy just to listen to somebody expressing that much emotion through like guitar playing or bass playing or drumming or whatever, saxophone playing, whatever.
It's like a way to speak without using words.
Well, I mean, I think that's
poetry when it rhymes.
I think that last comment from Kevin goes easy into what Connor just wanted to bring up about, like, you know, people that don't play music or aren't like a instrumentalist or whatever. I think a lot of you wanted to say a bunch of the normies out there. A bunch of the normies, all you normies. You know, listen to music for that exact reason. It brings up certain emotions that, you know, they don't have to be feeling sad in order to want to like listen to music that portrays that idea or feeling. I think that a lot of people, that's why, you know, some people fall in love with music and don't have to necessarily be musicians. I mean, I think DJs are the perfect example of kind of
we're gonna go
kind of being adamant music lovers. And you know, just to clarify, there could be two kind of DJs.
Press play on your
iPod. Press play on your iPod, salty musician hating on the DJ for making thousands of money, you know, for playing press and play on their iPod, or the DJ that kind of does it to like, he just has like a bunch of records. You've seen it a lot on YouTube channels now, where like you just have a DJ that has a bunch of albums, and he doesn't necessarily like mix them in a way where they're almost claiming it as their own song, but they just like present an album, and they'll have like 3 genres they'll go through like an hour set, and they just play the music. Like I just showed Connor this cool Japanese I think he might do just strictly Japanese music, or music that comes from Japan. But I saw this DJ, and I got this the channel recommended by a friend. I thought it was really interesting. He just played 3 genres, like pop, Japanese stuff, like jazz, Japanese music, and then I think he did some other one. But he just played like a few tracks from,
do you remember the name?
I forgot the name.
Oh no! I think you're gonna have to bring it back after the break.
I think it was like coffee something, coffee and I forget what it was. But I thought
hip hop beats, chill.
I know, right? but I thought that it was just like the first impression I got was like, oh, this guy really loves music. To the point where he has like 2 crates worth of just stuff, and he probably has a bunch more.
All the more impressive that a lot of it was foreign. I don't know if you know how hard it is to get.
Yeah.
Like albums that are made in Japan, especially vinyl. It's a pain in the ass. You have to get a proxy shopper for you, and then they'll mail it to you for the most part, and then you're paying ridiculous fees on top of it. I have albums over there. It cost me way too much, but I really love the pillows.
And for those who don't know, what was it called? Proxy buyer? Or
a proxy shopper.
A shopper is a person that will essentially find music for you in these other countries, right, which I didn't even know that was a thing until Connor brought it up.
They will shop for you at the stores and then send it to you.
So for any of you enthusiasts out there that just like to collect music of all sorts of formats, like CDs and vinyls or whatever, you can do that to help your collection grow. For those who are tuning in with Alternative Rhythm Radio right now,
it's like Twitch.tv/Alternative Rhythm Radio. Alternative Rhythm Radio at gmail.com. 818-574-8673.
So it's like a musical hitman, so to speak.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. So I thought that was a really cool concept. But so do you guys think that most people just, a majority of the common listen or music normies listen to it just because it portrays a certain emotion? Or do you think are we going to be kind of cynical about it and think that some people just listen to it because it's popular and that's the cool thing that's going on? Because I kind of feel like that's a certain extent with the mumble rap stuff that's going on in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, I don't know that just popular is enough. I think popularity means attainability, right? Like if it's popular, it's easier to hear, and therefore if you haven't heard other things... Are you sniffing the microphone?
A little bit.
Why are you sniffing the microphone?
Because
you don't want to sniff that microphone. That's my one that I use all the time. I spit constantly.
Because you know what kind of not even just music, but what kind of audio is trending lately, and that's one of the things that's like
ASMR.
Why do people listen to this stuff, man?
I'm getting what you're putting down.
So it doesn't even necessarily have to just be music. Why do people like listen to these kind of soundscapes?
But before we go down that rabbit hole, so do you guys think that people for the most part listen to music because it makes them feel good, or do you think a majority is it because they're just popular and the beat is good?
So I don't know if you guys have like tried to talk to anybody about this, but in preparation for the podcast, I've been asking my sister a lot of questions about music because I think she listens to more music than I do. And she doesn't play an instrument. She's never wanted to play. Well, she tried to play guitar once, and that's how I got my guitar. But that's whatever. That was like a week. And so she since we were like 9 or 10, she's had zero aspirations of playing music. But she loves music, and she listens to more music than I do. She pays for Apple Music and Spotify and this stuff, and she's always listening to music like constantly. And she doesn't play anything, but for her, when I was asking her about it, she said a big thing for her was like relatability to the music and just wanting to listen to something that like just it makes you feel something, whether it makes you feel good or it'll bring you down when you're down or whatever. It's just listening to that music for for the emotion and for something that I don't really listen to music for, but for relatability to the artist or to the lyrics.
Okay, so that's it. See, I kind of feel like that kind of a listener is already going past the casual normie.
So you're getting into enthusiast, do you think?
I in her case, I would assume that she's more of an enthusiast, because I know we tend to argue a lot, even when it comes to our creative process and all that, boo-boo. when it comes to music and the lyrical content, you know, because certain people, me and Connor have argued that they just listen to the music for the beat, you know, and they're not really listening for the lyrical content. Especially, and I bring that up mainly because these mumble rappers,
these goddamn mumble rappers,
and yeah, I sound like I'm hating just a little bit, because a lot of them aren't that great. I'll give a credit to a few of them, you know, but some of them, just their lyrical content, it's just like, okay, so you know, this is just like a repeat of disco. You know, but a modern thing, like it's just party and booze and getting messed up.
No, I feel like different music serves different purposes. Not all music is for the same reasons, because there's some music that like mumble rap and, you know, just like kind of like party songs that people just want to listen to because they want to just party to it. Right. Like disco, they just want to be in a room with other people listening to this shit, being excited about it. And then there's other music they want to listen to, you know, when they're working out or on their drive to work, or casual listening music. It's almost like golf clubs. There's so many different options for the different scenarios and what you want your music to be for.
Yeah, but even I still think like in those categories, I was using an example with the mumble rapper.
Yeah.
There's good mumble rapping music. And then there's the mumble.
Show me where.
Yeah, I know, right?
Point me in the right direction.
And then there's the ones that you know. I'm sure if you took the best of the best of that genre and the worst of the worst, you'd be able to tell.
Yeah.
And like the average listener would be like, nah. Like even though it's a party song, they would, you know, I would assume that they would probably start choosing the better mumble artists.
I think most of that music though sits in that middle space where it's just whatever. It's okay, you know, and then people can listen to it for, you know, for the reasons they want to listen to the music for. If some people really like that mumble rap and they like that style, and maybe it feels relatable because it can be attainable, because they can be a SoundCloud rapper, because it's, you know, anybody can be a SoundCloud rapper. I don't know, it's just one of those things.
Okay. For me, if I had to talk about it, like being outside of a musician, probably the a big reason for listening to music outside of being a musician is like, I don't like to get caught up in my own thoughts, especially because I feel like there might be some people that can relate to this. I think about a lot of things, and sometimes it gets me a little pissed off, a little depressed, all that kind of stuff. So I just need like music or some kind of other sound going on in my head. Music being, you know, the obvious choice
to attain.
just to kind of like block out my thoughts and occupy me.
I think that's hugely relatable to a lot of people. I know I do that sometimes, and I know that you know, people that like sleep to stuff, that's a big thing where they're like, there's like so much noise in their head.
I've got a sound machine that helps me sleep because I don't like to sleep in silence.
There you go.
I mean, I used to leave the TV on constantly because I couldn't do it.
That's just, I mean, it's a super relatable thing for a lot of people.
I want to say too, like, I think what I remember most about what got me really, really into music to start with was it gave me a sense of community a long time ago, because I found punk rock and I was really into punk rock, and it felt like a community that I wanted to be a part of. It was more than just music at that point. It was the whole scene. It was what I defined myself as, a 15, 14-year-old teenager. And though I don't feel the same way as I used to, where it was like, can I find the trashiest, worst recorded piece of music ever and just play that and tell everybody this is my favorite because you don't know what it is, has kind of changed over life, right? Like, I started enjoying more things and tasting different kinds of music flavors and experiencing different things, and it's made me more excited about a lot of things. But I think community can be a big part of it too. I do think that is fair to say, and that community might even be the same kind of community in the sense of like pop as like watching the new episode of Game of Thrones is still popular. Is that
it's canceled? I think it's over. So yeah.
Oh, Well, and then talking about it at the water cooler, right? Like popular music is kind of like that too. The AMAs is like that, or American music, and talking about it with a community of people.
With that point as well, since one of our goals with this podcast is to try to kind of build a small community of just music lovers of all levels, do you guys, in this era of music that we're kind of experiencing right now, do you guys still feel that the communities are about the same as what they used to be, or if they've dwindled down to very small groups now, more niche groups, or do you guys think it's always going to be up and down kind of a trend, just like anything in you know?
I mean,
in media,
trends come and go. You know, you got like a couple of those music cliques that still hang on tight. I know rock and metal, there's always like rock's dead, rock's been dead for like the last 5 years. We're waiting for it to come back and all of that. The hip hop and rap cliques, you know, they've got their whole scene going on. They're like, our time is here, our time is now.
Yeah.
Then pop music is kind of I was gonna say been on the rise, only because it's been consistently like, here it is in your face. This is it.
Constantly digested.
We don't care if our artists have continuity. If they have one single that we can push for 2 years, that's good until we get the next guy.
Yeah, 99 cents a track. You just push it until it's dead. $1.29 now, because it used to be 99 cents for a track, but now you buy a track for $1.29, and that's all they care about. That one track.
It's the economy, man.
Albums don't sell, and I think it's weird.
Yeah.
I've never really been a part of a music community, because I've usually just listened to music mostly by myself, and I don't really talk to people that often about music besides with you guys, because we play music together. Otherwise, you know, when I'm with my other friends, I don't really talk to them that much about the music that I like or whatever. But I know that some of the community is like, I have a few friends besides, you know, maybe I wouldn't say Connor considers him part of the hardcore underground punk scene, but I have a few friends.
I'm not. I'm a poser.
I have a few friends, you know, with really shitty tattoos, and they love drinking beer and going to these shows with 10 people and listening to these bands that they love. And so I know that scene is still alive. And I know a lot of especially here in the Valley, a lot of the Valley like ska punk scenes, like those kids out in like Sylmar, they still love that shit. They still have their parties, and being a part of the skateboarding community, I know a lot of my friends really like DRI and that shit, and they love going to, you know, listen to their friends cover it with like shitty instruments.
Because you're a skateboarder.
Yeah.
Like, would you consider yourself more of a skateboarder than musician at some point in your life?
At some point in my life, I didn't really play guitar that often
until
when I was in 10th and 11th grade. But before and after that, I played guitar like all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe through that window, but I don't know.
I think it's a weird relationship how things kind of shift, because like I would say, like, before I started making music at 20, I was more of a video game enthusiast, right? And I loved soundtracks. That's one of the things. I'd always buy video game soundtracks and listen to them. That was a big passion of mine. And then I became a musician, and it turns out that all that stuff fed back into my repertoire, right? Like, I learned that stuff, and it was always in my brain as I was making music then, as, well, this is how you compose a song, because I know that Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack was a fucking banger. Yeah.
So you technically haven't really experienced that community kind of like idea of like, you know, like when you were into punk rock, were you technically a part of like a punk rock kind of like community, or you just had like one friend?
I had like 3 friends. I didn't have a doom crew.
Yeah,
but you're from a very small place.
I'm from Pahrump, Nevada.
Yeah,
I think 3 people is a lot.
A small, very small town.
Than people.
Yeah, I think if you had 3 people, that's a whole little crew right there.
Yeah, it was impressive. It felt impressive.
That you could all even be in one room at once.
We could. Those, you know, it was no different than like the anime club on the summer
on the high school campus.
Summer nights at the library. All 6 of us.
Zach, where did you originally grow up in? Was it Santa Clarita the entire time?
I would say born and raised, if it weren't for the fact that I probably lived in the city that I was born in for like a year. But yeah, I was basically raised in Santa Clarita. So
did you?
I was born in, I'm gonna mess it up, Mission Hills.
Oh, okay.
So not even that far away.
Okay, so yeah, I thought you were going to say
out
some
here
other
basically
state.
in the valley.
Yeah.
So did you experience like a musical kind of like community thing going on in Santa Clarita? Because I know we're this almost the same age, so I'm curious to see if you saw that side of town.
I would consider myself a late bloomer, like as a musician that got into playing music and everything, and I would probably consider myself a late bloomer as far as like a high grade consumer. But like once I was really getting into rock and stuff like that, you know, I jumped in and out of stuff, especially on like you know, YouTube comment page for certain videos and artists and songs like that. Like, I would catch the trends that are going on and stuff. I wouldn't necessarily contribute anything, but I got what was going on. I would catch what people were saying about stuff. I didn't have a personal clique of my own because, you know, most people... people would know right away. They're like, oh, Zach, he likes the band Rush. He likes old stuff. I'm like, I don't just like old stuff. I listen to like some modern metal stuff.
How many Rush shirts do you have?
I've got.
Here we go.
I think I've got like 12.
He has 12. He's been to like 1,000 Rush concerts.
Sean, I know that your experience with music and musical communities is way different than the three of us because you were actually part of one.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up because my opinion is that the communities, the music communities have dwindled down.
Right.
Because
from your experience in the thrash and metal community.
Yeah, but it was interesting too because I originally grew up in LA for 13 years, and a part of my family, some of them were really into the punk scene out in LA. And even though I didn't live out there after I was 12 or 13 and I moved to Santa Clarita, at that point, you know, I would still go out to visit my family in LA and I would still hear them actively talking about going to a bunch of underground shows out there and all that stuff. But in Santa Clarita, I found a small metal and hardcore / punk community. Mm-hmm. So that's why I wanted to ask you, Zach, if you saw that, because I know it was going on around like 2004 to 2007. And then I was really fortunate to find a bunch of just music lovers and musicians.
Yeah.
And so like from 16, 17, I was already playing shows out in LA with a bunch of thrash metal bands, and it was really weird, reflecting on that period this last year, talking about creating this, and even trying to find our like quote unquote genre of music that we can fit in well as a band.
As a band, yeah.
As a band, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was gonna mention as a band,
Yeah.
like so. I think personally that it's they've dwindled down, but on the contrary, I think the musical communities on the internet have grown exponentially.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I think which I kind of want to bring this up for, you know, if we want to elaborate more on that topic. I think with streams and bringing that up, how the track is more important to these labels now. Do you guys think in the next 5 years that's what it's going to become? Like, because, you know, recently we saw a bunch of bands on their freaking Instagrams, you know, flexing on how many views.
Oh yeah, because Spotify released the track list, right? Or it was like how many streams you had
this year.
I don't know. I can get to mine because I don't have Spotify.
Well, no, just in general, like, so you guys were aware of that going on right now towards the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if people have really thought about this, but I'm like, so is that going to be the new thing that like the corporate media is gonna look at as like as how they used to look at it in album sales? Like, is the future gonna be like, how many streams did you get this year? I think it's gonna go more towards that.
It is a like noticeable amount of profit, right? Like that's what you can look at it as, especially when they're trying to sign artists to 360-degree deals. And for those who don't know, 360-degree deal means they own every part of you as an artist, not just your album. They're not making an album deal with you. They're making a deal to manage you as an artist in full.
And they're making like 30% of the profit on everything that you do.
Instead. And it's to offset the album sales because nobody buys, well, I shouldn't say nobody buys albums because I think everyone here buys albums regularly, but we're enthusiasts and as such, and musicians, we digest them.
But let's be real that the cost of an album, like even on the billion scale, is not enough to pay the mortgage for a rock star's house. Just to make like a really bad analogy.
Not for the owner of the album initially, for sure, because like there's a way that the point system works. We can get in that more later, but that's not really what we're here to do right now. But it definitely influences the way that they view your sellability. What profit can you bring? Because at the end of the day, the record label is trying to run a business, feed its employees, keep its doors open, and then pocket their money, and that they think they've earned, and that's fine. Like, I think everybody has to understand that. So they care less, I think, honestly, about the music and their ability to sell your music. It's not an artist's business at that point. It's a business. You need to make a product that sells.
How much time do we have?
We have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, so let me make this point really quick, touching on the moving from album sales to streams thing. Like, that's been a hot topic for the last couple of years. And an article that I read, it was either earlier this year, late last year, was the whole thing about people asking Peter Frampton, the guy that wrote of course I can't remember right now.
Yeah, it's not embarrassing.
Do you feel like we do, or I want you to show me the way. Show me the way.
You know what's great? I've seen Peter Frampton live, and I don't even know what song you're talking about.
So like those are the two big songs for him and his Peter Frampton Comes Live album, whatever. Yeah. And people are asking him, hey, so how much money have you made off of that song? Because he's like, that song has like, I'll just throw a stupid number out here, like 19 billion streams. And I've probably seen about $300 from it.
Wow.
So,
and that's why I think it's interesting talking, going from the, have the music communities dwindled down, like in a more, and that's not in the internet. And that line has been blurred kind of in the last few years, where it's just the music listener, not like the punk rockers and the metal heads and the hip hop.
Yeah, we're getting dangerously close to like. So the whole point of this first part of this stream was I was trying to keep it tame so people would understand that we're not unreasonable when we get to the second half of this the third part.
You're trying to lie.
It's gonna get loud. That's what I know is gonna happen. It's gonna get loud, and I wanted to make sure people understood that we were reasonable humans before we got loud.
I'm reasonable. If my mainstay,
I'm not that reasonable.
If my mainstay of being paid as a musician is by having people stream my music, I expect to be paid more than a fucking 16th of a cent per stream.
Live in LA, goddamn.
Yeah, but things have changed. Like, and you hear all the older cats saying, "Oh, the music industry ain't the same." and I know. Tying it back to the what music we've been listening to lately. The band leader from Snarky Puppy mentioned that in an interview I think he had this year or late last year. It's like, yeah, I always hear all the older jazz guys telling me, oh, it's not the same how it used to be and blah blah blah. But that he's like, he mentioned, nowadays you just kind of have to be your own manager. You have to create your own content. Yeah, I know, like Mac DeMarco, who's proclaimed as the indie rock.
You've said this many times, and I still don't know who he is.
But regardless, he's one of the biggest indie artists or rock artists right now.
Yeah.
And he recently just broke off his own label and created his own, or the label he was on to create his own.
Yeah, he just records his own shit.
Yeah, he just records his own stuff at home, and I thought he ended this one interview segment perfectly. He's like, yeah, I'm just kind of doing what I like to do, and I know that tomorrow it could all be taken away, but at the end of the day, I'm just gonna do what I kind of want to do, and I don't really care what anyone thinks. And he shrugged his shoulders.
I saw that,
and I was just like, right on, dude. I respect
that. That's a bad idea. I mean, we can see that, like, back. I mean, Fat Records with Fat Mike leaving Epitaph. He said there was a moment where the big label came to me and they offered me an amount of money for our next album. And then Epitaph came to me and offered me the same amount of money for the next album. And what I realized was I had more than that amount of money in the bank already. So why don't I just go make my own label? And he walked away and made Fat Records.
Nice.
You know? Now, what did that mean for him? Well, it meant a lot of things, because it's not like he was in a different position than Green Day or Rancid or Offspring.
Or even Mac DeMarco.
Or even Mac DeMarco, yes. But these were all at the same time. And we can see the paths that they took. And Green Day took that big contract.
Right.
And admittedly, they're more marketable than Fat Mike will ever be.
Oh, of course.
And, you know...
I think the phrase you're looking for is more willing to bend.
Yeah. Green Day. Oh, Green Day.
Reasonable.
Ooh, Green Day.
Let's not digress.
We're not getting there.
We're not getting there
yet. We're not getting there yet. But one last thing before we go. Let's go through our last one of our topics on here.
Oh shit.
Does gear matter? Do we want to get into does gear matter?
No, I think.
How many minutes do we have? Because this is.
I mean, nobody started a clock, but
yeah, I forgot to.
I'm guessing about 2 minutes and some change.
I mean, we can make this.
We can go longer.
Yeah, we can make
that
this
is
like an hour
fine.
15.
Okay.
But we're gonna go into an intermission, so everybody understands. If you're watching it live, because I can't actually see the count right now, I don't imagine there's a lot of people here. This is our first episode, and these things happen. Nobody's called in yet. I don't know why.
Hi, Mom.
818-574-8673.
Thank you, Kevin.
818-574-8673.
Also, email us at alternativeradio@gmail.com.
Don't worry, we'll get this down by the third episode.
We won't.
And be a part of the conversation. There's a chat. We can see the chat. You can comment in there, and we will address you by name, by fake username,
by social security number.
We want you to be mad at us.
Come and comment on our board, Darkblade 069.
There's going to be some movement during the intermission. Actually, let's go to the intermission now. We'll come back. We'll hit it longer. If we have a longer episode on the next one, that's fine. But this will be the end of the first week. So when we release the podcast next week, it'll be part 1. It'll be this episode that you just listened to. And then the following week, we'll release another episode, and another episode will be the 3 parts that you'll be able to view live, and then you'll get a weekly podcast afterwards. Did that make sense? Can somebody English that?
I was zoned out.
We're going to be releasing 3 episodes of this podcast in the next few weeks.
But when we do it live, we'll do all 3 episodes. This is how we can make it work, because I have to completely destroy my living room to be able to do this today as we slowly get everything set up. We're going to go out now, and we'll be back if you're watching live in about 10 minutes or so, depending on how long snacks take.
Yeah, I'll set an actual timer for
So
that.
stick with us. We're going to play our playlist that we kind of shoved together last minute, and we'll still be here after that.
Alternative Rhythm Radio is a production of AlternativeRhythmRadio.com and Dyer Media Group. This episode was produced by Connor Dyer. Opening music for this episode comes from Aki Akane's Flashback at the Primal's Oblivion. Alternative Rhythm Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content. Until next time.